Good Wednesday morning, friends, or afternoon, or whenever you may happen to join. For those that I may not know, I'm Reverend Jennifer Finley, our Momentum and Discipleship Pastor here at First United Methodist Church in Kirksville, and this is our midweek time to pause together, to take a deep breath, to wonder together how and where God is showing up in our world, how and where we're sensing God's love made tangible to us. It is the middle of a busy week for many of us. For some of us here at the church, that looks like putting the finishing touches on all of the worship services and the final preparations for joining together as a community of faith on Sunday, on Christmas Eve, or joining together tonight for our Light in the Darkness service. For others of you, this may be last minute gift wrapping, or if you're like me, maybe even last minute gift purchasing or baking. It may be a frenzied kind of week, or for you, it might be the kind of week where everything settles down just a bit after several weeks of lots of busy. Wherever this week finds you, and whether you are like me and still drinking your morning coffee, or whether you are moving into the rest of your day, whatever this is holding for you, I invite you into this time, just these few moments, to pause together and to believe and think and dream together about what God is doing in our world. On Sunday morning, and at our Christmas Eve evening services, we will be lighting the Advent candle of love. And that got me to thinking about the tangible ways that love is made visible to us, the ways in which we feel and sense God's love, the reminders that we have of the love that others have for us, because we are human, and sometimes we need very tangible reminders that we are indeed loved. And that got me to thinking about the things that we put up in our worship spaces and our homes to remind us of love. I got to thinking, and I brought a couple of things with me from my own home this morning that I thought I'd share with you. The first is a slightly or more than slightly bedraggled Santa Claus. You can't see his full body, but if you can see he's missing an arm here, and he's still got a bell in this hand, and he's got some feet that one of them is not quite fully attached. On the bottom of his feet, there's rollers. Now, some of you might recognize something like this. This was a gift given to me, probably in the mid-'80s, so he's got some age on him. He has been well loved, at least by me. I'm not entirely sure he was well loved by my parents, because someone gave this to me as a small child, and if you can see on the back, there's a switch. Now, he no longer works. I turned him on this morning and the connections don't work anymore, but they did just a few years ago. And if I turned him on, he would play the most obnoxiously loud music. And back in his day, he rang his bell and he moved forward on those rollers. And I loved him because he was absolutely obnoxious. And as a kid, I absolutely loved that. He now sits underneath my Christmas tree each and every year. I pull him out of the box each and every year, and I put him under the Christmas tree. In part because he reminds me of the love of my family. Reminds me of the love of the friend that maybe they loved me more than they loved my parents when they gave me an obnoxious toy. But he reminds me of love and connection. And also, sometimes the ways in which love is still present, even when things are frayed and tattered and torn, and maybe not quite pristine, because there are times in our lives when the love that we receive or the love that we give or just our lives in general feel tattered and torn and worn, maybe a bit like this Santa Claus. He reminds me that even when that's the case, there is still love present. It's one of the things our Light in the Darkness service reminds us of tonight. And then as I was thinking about the tangible ways, love made tangible, because sometimes I just need to touch and feel it, I was looking at my Christmas tree, and I pulled off this really very simple ornament. I believe it has a tag on it that says, a little thing that says 2003. And the top of it says, Adventures of a Book. It's a stack of books. To anybody else, that might not mean a whole lot, but I think this was an ornament that was either given to me by my grandmother or came to me from her things after her death. I'm not sure which. But it hangs on my Christmas tree, and always when I see it reminds me of her love and the love of books that we shared through our family, and the ways in which love is conveyed in the very tangible reality of a book. That might not be your story, it's part of mine, and I love to be able to actually hold this ornament in my hand. And then I looked at this star. It's actually a Moravian star. It was given to me by the first pastor that I served with on staff after seminary, who is now retired. At that point in time, he gave this to me, and it reminds me of both the relationship with him, the ways he helped shape and form me early in ministry, and also the love of Christ that we see in a star. This is something I can hold. I can see it on my tree. I can touch it. I don't know about you, but I think that's one reason that we decorate our spaces for Christmas, our homes. And it's different every year, as Pastor Lori shared last week. Sometimes our decorations are different. The ways in which we need to experience and feel tangible love is different from year to year. Those are some of mine. I wonder, what are some of the ways that you have that remind you where you can see and touch, maybe even taste and smell love? I am sitting in front of our Chrismon tree here at church, and what you can see behind us are symbols of our Christian faith, reminders, tangible things that you can see sparkle in the light, tangible reminders of God's love for us. And actually, if you could see all around the sanctuary, our sanctuary is full of those reminders, things that we can see, candles that we can light. And that, I think, friends, is one of the reasons why each and every year we gather, whether it's in our homes and online or in a physical worship space. It's one reason why we gather to hold candles in our hands, to see the light spread from person to person, to be reminded in a very tangible way that love is contagious and it spreads even when our lives are a bit tattered and torn and worn. Even then, love is moving in the world. And so my invitation to you is that however you do it, as we move into these next few days and into Christmas Eve and Christmas morning, to look for those opportunities that we can be reminded, that we can hold a candle high or a glow stick if you're joining us on Sunday morning AM services, that you can hold a candle or hold something in your hand. Hold it close to your heart that reminds us that we are loved and beloved of God, that love is moving in our world. Thought I'd close with one of my favorite poems by Anne Weems. She shares a collection of poetry called Kneeling in Bethlehem. Unexpected. Even now, we simply do not expect to find a deity in a stable. Somehow the sudden is all wrong, the swaddling clothes too plain, the manger too common for the likes of a savior, the straw inelegant, the animals reeking and noisy, the whole scene too ordinary for our tastes. And the cast of characters is no better, with the possible exception of the kings. Who among them is fit for this night? The shepherds? Too crude. The carpenter too rough, the girl too young, and the baby. Whoever expected a baby? Whoever expected the advent of God and a helpless child? Had the Messiah arrived in the blazing light of the glory of a legion of angels wielding golden swords, the whole world could have been conquered for Christ right then and there, and we in the church, to say nothing of the world, wouldn't have so much trouble today, even now. We simply do not expect to face the world armed with love. Even now, we simply do not expect to face the world armed with love. I love that, because sometimes we do not expect the ways in which love shows up in our lives, in our world. We do not expect the ways in which we can taste it and touch it and feel it and remember it and hold on to it. So friends, whatever this week holds for you, may you be surprised by the unexpected ways in which God love shows up. Go in peace, my friends.